Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the House of Hammers. We couldn't be more excited to welcome back our guest host, Mr. Christopher Okoye, Catholic Central legend, Ferris State legend, NFL legend, UFL legend, USFL legend, speaker. I could keep going on and on. The only person that can outdo him on today's podcast is our special guest, Mr. Mitch Hancock, Catholic Central graduate, Central Michigan All-American, now the head coach of the Detroit Catholic Central Shamrocks, and another announcement we'll be making a little bit later in the podcast that we'll discuss. But we talk about what the House of Hammers is about, and it's about servant leadership. And one thing that we like to do is bring people on who give back, pour into the kids, pour back into their people, pour back into the community, and pour back into their faith. And Coach Mitch Hancock has done that for years. I knew him when he was a student. Mr. Okoye knew Mr. Hancock when he was a little bit younger, when Mr. Okoye was a student. So great history with these guys. But first and foremost, Chris, I want to catch up on your weekend, see if you had any victories that you want to share with the crowd or anything great that happened.
It was a really amazing weekend. Went down to a domestic violence soup kitchen, and we passed out some pizza instead of soup and some books, and was able to hang out and just have some fellowship and spread goodness, discipline, and knowledge, and just kind of discuss some of the amazing things we have going on here at the school. So that was a pleasure. And then I had my juvenile detention program. We went there and went over some career explorations and post getting out kind of curriculum, things they can get into, job opportunities, how to get more involved with the faith. Just, another good old weekend, man, spreading the Shamrock word,
Yeah, a little bit of substitute teaching this week for you.
Yes.
How'd that go?
Yes, indeed.
How do we feel about that? You feel like you fit in the classroom as a Bazillion educator?
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm all about the building blocks and the foundational moments of building young men. So
you officially became our largest teacher on campus yesterday.
No, I disagree with that.
We might have to get a couple weigh-ins then. Coach Hancock has a couple scales in the wrestling room that are accurate.
There's about two other people who I think may have me beat.
Mitch, how about you? I know that you guys got to experience Teague's last home game this weekend. I know that's got to be a little bit emotional. I know it's been awesome to watch Teague's journey and all of your kids, from Mia to Kinsley to Teague. And I remember when they were all born, and when you posted that kind of hit me a little bit too, just realizing how quickly this journey was going. How did everything go, and how were you holding it together?
It was hard. I'm not going to lie, right? I've always looked at myself as a tough, gritty person, no tears shared. But, yeah, Teague's played for the Berkeley Steelers for over 8 years, and it's an incredible organization, ran by quite a few civil servants, police officers. They do a remarkable job, and he's developed so many friendships there. And they won a Super Bowl in the JV. They're in the Oakland-Macomb Youth Football Association, so they get to play a lot of Macomb teams too. And some of the friendships that he's developed, it's remarkable to see them grow. But at the end of the game, they played the North Farmington West Bloomfield Vikings. Both teams were 6-0 going in, and they ended up winning. And Berkeley did something cool that I haven't seen done before. Personally, they started the players on one side of the field, and they locked arm to arm and walked 100 yards down to the parents. So it was their last walk together, right? And I got to tell you, I mean, they were playing Kenny Chesney's Friday Night song, right? Football song. Man, I'm tearing up, right? And I just didn't expect that. So to see him progress and mature and grow into the young man he is today. And my friend Chris has come out and watched him play. We call him Baby Hutch. He's got a motor on him and still has to develop a lot of skills, but his football career has really taken off.
Are you okay with him being bigger than you now?
You know what? He challenges me. Like, I got to tell a funny story. I'm a little psychotic, and I think everyone knows that about the process. He had a bad back this week, and he was going into Sunday's game. So I suggested to him, and usually he does some footwork. Game day morning, does the ladder, sets up cones, does a lot of that stuff on his own, which is cool. He's taking ownership of it. So I went outside to sort of stretch him and put some icy hot on his back. And typically I'll line up and we'll do 5 to 7 reps of him at defensive end, me at offensive tackle, and hand fighting. And
your favorite.
I haven't done this in a while, right? And I'm telling you, the first 3 reps, he gave me a bloody nose, cut my lip, and almost power shoved me to the ground. He's just getting too big to where I almost can't handle it anymore. So
I have seen you play football before when we dominated the Shamstock tournament that one year. I believe I told you to stick to takedowns, not tackles.
We were pretty good, Aaron.
We were pretty good. We were loaded. Every single player on that team was a state champion or all-state in some sport, and we absolutely dominated. The students then got kicked out of the tournament.
Get kicked out by the commissioner. Do we know
Janice
who the
Sharkey.
commissioner was?
Yeah, I saw her last week and
Thank you,
reminded her,
Mrs. Sharkey.
Janice, the only bad decision you ever made was kicking us out of that tournament.
Probably the smartest decision.
We took it a little far. I don't think the first-round matchup against the band was the greatest idea. I had one of our best saxophone players in CC history telling me he was going to dominate me at defensive end, to which I laughed and then repeatedly pancaked him. I don't know if that's legal, but it was well within the confines of the game. So
That's actually when we had a line, and then there were no apples for rush.
correct. It was straight up hand-to-hand combat. It was great.
Trombone player versus Aaron Babicz, college football player.
So how do you feel, right, being such an, I mean, one of the world's best wrestling coaches, and then having a son who is a phenomenal pass rusher? Like so what's that feeling like, right? So you know what it's like to see an amazing wrestler and how to develop like an amazing wrestler. What is it like seeing a son who's just a God-given, just natural pass rusher? Because when I saw him play, I'm gonna be honest, I was extremely, extremely surprised. He was one of the most fluent.
Look at how athletic
Because he comes from a
I am.
wrestling family?
No. Because he was just a fluent rusher. Like he just, you know how you see a guy like Stone, right? How there's like a pure like new age just pass rusher, and it's like you just see someone who just wants to get after the quarterback, like, and it just looks like they were just born to do that. Like, how is it? Because there's one thing to have a kid who's good at football, but when you have like a guy that is a natural pass rusher. I mean, you saw me at the game. I was in shock. I mean, we're talking like 7, 8 quarterback pressures, like in the quarterback
And
space.
I know you weren't quiet during the game. I know you screaming your head off, going crazy.
Because he was like doing like technical rush moves. Like he was going slap inside rip, and like we're talking like rip up like through the ear
That's
gate.
what I teach him at home.
That's hand fighting. That's all hand fighting.
Like, I mean,
It's
how's that feel?
It's a pretty cool feeling, right? It's natural, and obviously the coaches at the Steelers work with them because I've done no work with them. We have small discussions. He's an athletic kid, right? Baseball, football, wrestling. I think he's learned to be aggressive on the wrestling mat, so it's easy for him to transfer that over to football because on the mats it's either you or him, and there's no one else, right? So, yeah, I've been quite surprised because I got to tell you, I mean, a couple of years ago he was playing nose tackle and guard. I mean, he was a fat, chubby kid with
Okay, take it easy. Not all nose D tackles and
thick skin, and he was my little nerd. He had the
Well, that
glasses
wraps up
on.
this week's podcast with
And he'd be the first to tell you. It doesn't change my love for him, but I mean, you guys have grown up with him. You've seen him. He's really developed into quite a young man, and to watch his football career escalate into what it has, and he's just getting started. So I think he's excited about his career here and the possibility of playing here for the Catholic Central Shamrocks and Coach Asante and what he's built, and he's really excited, I know, to play for Coach Carrier.
If I could give you a compliment, which I try to compliment people as much as humanly possible, lead with love. We talked about it on the podcast before. To watch your journey with him specifically as a dad and bringing him into the wrestling room and you wrestling with him and having some of our best kids wrestle with him. And my own son's been in our wrestling club and it's helped him in football. But the way that you mentor him and give him tough love and love tough in return as well, I think that's what's helped build Teague into who he is right now, because he's an engaging young man. He makes eye contact when he talks. Yes, he could be a little bit of a smart aleck, but he is part of the Hancock family with all due respect. Like,
Right.
He fits in already as such a CC Shamrock. But the way I've watched you be a father to him and the conversations we've had about some of the challenges he's gone through athletically, that for me, I think makes him everything who you see in him. And as a dad, you just want to see your kid be happy. You know what I mean? And I know there's been times athletically where he's been frustrated and things like that, and you've helped him work through it. But I think you've done an amazing job being realistic with him, not pumping him up and not telling him, hey, you're great at this, or you've been very honest with him and met him where he is. And I think that's why he is the young man that he is today, because you set that standard for him. And I see that trickle down into our own kids here at Catholic Central. Do you feel like that's something you were just naturally born with, or is there someone that helped you foster that loving tough?
Yeah, there's got to be a growth mentality, right? Without struggle, there's no growth. And I had some remarkable mentors in my life going back to the bazillions here at Catholic Central. I had a Japanese world champ, Misaki Hado, who was a wrestling coach and mentor of mine. And then, Coach Rodriguez off to Central Michigan. And I failed. And anyone who's been successful in any endeavor they've done, they've had to go through failure. And Teeger's failed over and over again, on the wrestling mats. And I mean, he was a subpar wrestler when he was getting started, and he's gotten his butt beat quite a bit, right? Struggling on the football field, and because he was that heavy set kid, right? I mean, he was getting pushed around, and certainly on the baseball diamond as well. I mean, he was with an organization for 5 years, and he got cut. So watching him go through those cuts, and then playing for them during the World Series, and then having to try out for other teams during the World Series. And yet we told him or asked him if he wanted to continue the World Series. He made that choice on his own to continue to play for that team during the World Series after he was notified that he was cut. Was pretty instrumental, and it's not...
Pretty good World Series too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, had a really good World Series, and then went on and had the opportunity to join the Bulls and play for them, and he's had a lot of fun with them. But to watch him handle that situation, he handled it better than I did as a dad, because I thought I failed, right? And I think we get caught up in that as parents. If we don't see our sons or our children succeed, we feel like we're failing. We didn't set them up for success. We could have done extra workouts. We could have done the one-on-ones, and they're not having that success. I think that comes with time, and failure is the one driver of success. You have to fail forward. It's no different from our wrestling schedule. I mean, we're bringing Bishop McCourt, into Catholic Central for the Super Duels, along with St. Edward's and other teams. Bishop McCourt's got the top 3 ranked class of 2026 recruits in the country. These guys are going to Virginia Tech and Oklahoma State, and we're bringing them into Catholic Central. We want our guys to fail, and do it under an environment where they can be picked up, loved, and supported, and find a way to improve.
I think that's one thing that you've always said to the wrestling team that I love, and I've tried to do it as an athletic director in other sports. You flat out told your kids, if you don't have a loss on your record by the time the postseason rolls around, I haven't done my job. Now, we've had some kids that have gone through undefeated, but they've been pretty special. But we've also had some very good wrestlers who have won multiple state titles that have had multiple losses. And that's a true testament to the way that we schedule. Here at CC, we don't run away from competition. And I know that, and I love the relationship that you guys have gotten to build now that Chris has come back into the school. I think the biggest thing that I notice from our scheduling and the way that we do things is that, like you said, we want to fail, but we want to fail big. If we're going to fail, it's going to be against the best of the best. Chris, we talk about your journey quite a bit here from Ferris State not being a highly recruited athlete, Division I wise, even though you had that size. When you got to Ferris State, what was the switch that flipped for you to just take it to that next level?
That's one of those interesting conversations that, I always have. And I think when you have so many people believing in you, I think people talk a lot about the word like potential, right? And I think once people love you, I think like Coach Hancock, you, my family, my other coaches, when you have a group of people that just like really, really begin to believe in you, right? Even though you haven't given them like a legitimate reason, you kind of want to win for them, Like the way you treated me, like, when I was the least of thee, right? When I was nothing, like Coach Hancock would still make jokes and laugh with me when he was like my age and he was here and he was working. And I wasn't a stud athlete. I brought no value. When those people kind of love on you, it's like, you don't want to make them look stupid. You don't want to make them look bad. It's like, you kind of want to give them the ROI that they weren't necessarily looking for. But when someone believes in you, man, like it feels good and you don't want to let them down. And that's like the best, most organic way I can describe that. It's like, you want the people that place the bet on you to win and win big, where, like that like chance or that risk they took on you. I mean, Father Huber took a massive risk on letting me in, right? I got told the joke about when Father Fulton was talking about how they were trying to decide whether or not to let a young man in, and Father Huber laughed and said, well, I had a conversation like this one time about a young man, and, that young man happened to be me. When people take a bet on you, man, like you want to make sure that they win, especially when the chips or the data may not have been in their favor. And that was a huge, huge motivating factor for me, right? I always tell our young men, I walk down that hallway every single day and I don't see my name on the All-State list, or I don't see my name on the captain list or the Rugged Jug list that has hundreds of great CC players. But the one list where there's only 5 players, that's the list I'm on, and that's NFL guys. And it always reminds me that you're not judged on how you start, right? You're judged by how you finish. And that's a message that I always want our young men to just hear and see and love, and that more importantly, when you come here, we help with the shaping of that. We're not just saying that it happens by chance. you meet amazing men here that shape and mold you into the man that you ultimately seek to become. And so
I think the biggest thing that you said that I disagree with is that you started at the bottom. You brought no value.
I
right?
agree.
Because
I heard that.
that's the one thing I picked up on. Everything else I agree with you, but that's what I think this place is good at. And not just people inside of Catholic Central. There's plenty of people outside of this place that are really good at seeing the greatness in others before they realize it in themselves. And you and I have had that conversation from when you first started your journey here as an employee. My vision for you was different than what it was currently for you at that time. And it divided us a little bit. It did, because like I said before, I'd call Chris out of the student section to come help me with the raucous student section, and he'd just sit there with his Biggie t-shirt on and be like, nope.
Smile.
Yeah. He'd just smile and shake his head, and I couldn't say anything. I love him so much. Like, I couldn't get mad at him. But, you know, now I see you at all these games and you're draped in head to toe CC gear. You go to tennis, you drive out to Brighton to watch the regional. We're talking about going up to Midland this weekend.
I don't think you have to be super talented or super accomplished to bring value to any institution, right? I think you look at the positivity in every one of our 1,100 students. There's a culture here, I think, where everyone brings value in one shape or form or another, right? It's, you know, whether it's a student that's dedicating time with his NHS, service opportunity in Shamrock Study Hall. You know, the robotics team is constantly progressing and moving forward. Everyone can bring value in a specific shape or form, but it doesn't have to be due to accomplishments or previous accomplishments.
Yeah, I agree.
Let me reword that. I meant like the perceived value from the stereotype that I should have just came in as like a gung-ho athlete.
Yeah,
like,
6'5", 300 plus
you know
pounds as a
saying?
freshman.
Like
yes.
like I was loved from the aspect of like the poetry club, like creative writing, the public speaking club. Like, yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that. But like, you know, at the end of the day, like, I mean, I had the seniors when I was a freshman sit me down and say like, look, like we need you to pick it up because we're like you know, like, so like the perceived value, I guess, is the phrase that I meant. Like, you guys loved me for who my personality, like my spirit, like even to this day, Coach Hancock talks about the energy or the light I bring into a room. Like, you guys loved me for more so of those intangible skills that the average person just doesn't see right away from someone. I guess that's more so what I was trying to say than just like literally no value, you know.
Well, you know, we're always here to pick you up a little bit,
Yeah,
fill in the gaps a little bit.
Sharpen it, man. Iron sharpens iron. So,
Coach Hancock, you've been here for. It's awkward to say this, but you've been here for a long time now, and I don't think it would. You and I, when we started this journey, I don't think we thought it would go quite this fast. My first year home working at CC and coaching was your senior year, and we used to work out together in the weight room, and now we're sitting doing a podcast together, and you're our current dean of students, our head wrestling coach, and next year you take over as the first lay principal at Detroit Catholic Central High School, the first non-Basilian. That's a big deal. That is, we're very excited about that. Very excited about it. And make no bones about it, we love Father Fulton, and having that Basilian presence at the top of our food chain and the top of our school is invaluable. And I'm happy he's going to have another role in the school. But how excited are you about that opportunity? And what do you plan to bring as a Basilian educator, non-collar, but as a Basilian educator, to that role as the first lay principal in Catholic Central history?
Yeah, first of all, just let me share how honored I am, right? It brings a great responsibility to my plate. I'm not going to lie, I was anxious about it, and I had to really pray upon it and whether I was the right person for this job. But in understanding that no organization is ran without a great team, we have a great team here at Catholic Central. So it's not me alone, right? I have to rely on our teachers, our faculty, our staff, our students. That's where my focus is, right? Is how can I keep the Basilian charisms alive at Catholic Central as an educator, because they've impacted me in such a positive way, make the experience even more valuable than for our students, because it is a great experience as is, and then support our teachers, faculty, and staff so they can do their job to their fullest extent. So really excited about the opportunity, excited to continue to serve our students and walk aside, you know, with them and helping them through their journey here at CC. But yeah, recognizing that I have to rely on my support team. And much like Chris said earlier, I have a huge support team, right? And Catholic Central was not founded by one person, it was founded by 10. So if I keep that in mind, that it takes a team to be successful, and I've been a part of a lot of successful teams, yeah, I think good things will happen in the future here at CC.
If you mean by successful teams, 11 team state championships, I would say that we've had a pretty good run in wrestling. But rewind back to your first
three runner-up performances.
I didn't bring those up, but there is still that one in the corner that says 1 point underneath it, which I love. One year we got caught with a bump in our lineup, and Oxford High School beat us by 1 point. Coach Hancock and I talked about scrapping the trophy, and we're like, no, put it up in the corner of the room with 1 point. What year was that?
2011.
So it's been up there since 2011 with the word 1 point painted in white underneath it. And I love that motivation because it shows the kids, you just never know. You might have the best team, but on that day, you might not be at your best, and you can get caught if you're not on your P's and Q's. Rewind back to your first year as an employee here as a teacher, and then fast forward to now. In between that time, what has helped you grow into the person that you are today and be able to become the first lay principal at Catholic Central? What changes have you had to make? What own self-assessments have you had to do? Auditing your circle, just filling in some gaps? What have you had to do to fill up that toolbox?
Yeah, that's a deep question. When I started, I was lost, right? Like any incoming teacher in year 1, 2, and 3. I was teaching physical. I had 5 preps. I was teaching all the phys ed courses, right? So wrestling, phys ed, health. Then I was teaching a business curriculum of accounting, intro to business, and business law. So, I mean, that's 6 preps. So imagine preparing for 6 different classes every single day. So it was a whirlwind when I first started here. And much like any new teacher, had no idea what I was doing. I'm surprised I didn't get fired in the first few years, right? Certainly, wrestling helped. It was an outlet for me to channel some focus and developing that program, because before I had taken off, Rod had extensive success, but we hadn't had the team success or a team state championship since '88. So when I shifted the focus more on the team than the individual state championships, it really started to blossom, and we built something special. When I took over in '06, we didn't have a single returning state qualifier. I mean, within 4 years, we had 14 state qualifiers, a team championship, and the rest is history. But I think the students themselves are the ones that helped me develop into who I was. I think early in my career, I wanted to accomplish things to be the next Tom Mack, or I wanted to be the next state championship coach. So it was more about me, right, accomplishing these goals and becoming a validated, successful coach. And then later in my career, the shift focuses to the boys, the team. How can I help them succeed? Right. So I had to remove myself, remove that ego, and keep it more focused on the students here rather than our coaches and the program success as a whole, if that makes sense. I mean, I've had some really great mentors here at CC. The principals that I've worked under, Father Huber, Father Nelke, Mr. Dave Lewis. I mean, we talk about hammers all the time, right? Hancock hammers. We have a lot of hammers in this building, and he's one of them. So when you have stability and you have great mentors in your life that can show you different aspects of the school, and I think Father Fulton does a remarkable job of that. I've never seen a more active principal. You know, he's always on campus. He knows just about everyone's name. He's just an incredible source of light for me and a beacon of hope for our community.
Well, he always says his number one job as principal is to let the students know and make sure they know that they're loved. And I will say this, I haven't been around a lot of people that do it like he does. I mean, he tries to move in every single pocket of the school. Here's another little fun fact, as Coach Hancock referenced Hancock's hammers. I stole the term hammer from Coach Hancock years ago. He used to always call good wrestlers or just tough kids hammers. He's a hammer. This kid's a hammer. And then we just kind of started blowing up the term and just applying it to other areas and other things. So when you talk about a hammer, give me the Mitch Hancock definition of a hammer. Not Hancock's hammers. I don't want the wrestling definition. You give me your definition of a hammer.
Well, I think about a hammer. A hammer isn't fancy, right? I mean, everyone.
I don't mean a
needs
literal definition. We know what a hammer is. You know what I mean,
let's get to the-
figuratively speaking.
Well, figuratively speaking and literally speaking, every builder needs a hammer. It's not fancy. It's not driven by battery. It's durable. It's reliable. It's weather resistant, right? I mean, so if you apply that to life, think about that, right? If you apply it to life and understand that it's reliable, it can persevere through any element, right? That it's effective. It's an effective tool, old but effective tool. So if we apply that to student life, it's being on time, turning my homework in all the time, getting good grades, putting the extra effort in at study hall, making sure that I help others and serve others, right? So there's many different ways you can apply that around the building. So when I think of a hammer, I think of someone who is extraordinary, but is humble while doing that to achieve greatness, right? Or help others achieve greatness. So that's my definition of a hammer. Someone who's extraordinary, reliable, consistent, can always get the job done. It doesn't have to be the superstar. Sometimes your superstars are not reliable.
True.
Or can't overcome a hurdle, right? And to me, that is someone who has the ability to be a hammer, but with development.
Yeah.
But when I think of our young men on campus, it's those that are consistent with those efforts and with those touch points that are hammers to me.
Yeah, that's a great definition. That's a little more extensive than I probably would have put on, a little bit bigger of a twist, but it makes me think of him because your leadership after you left this place took off. You were a good leader when you were here, especially senior year, you were a good leader. I don't think you hit your stride, though, until you got to Ferris State and realized how great of a leader you were. So I'm interested to hear your definition of the term hammer as well.
When I think of a hammer, I think of something that always gets the job done, right? A hammer is something that, irregardless of circumstance, you keep hitting, and hitting. It represents like a chisel almost, or like you just keep chipping away. Like you just keep on going. You keep facing adversity, knocking adversity down. You just keep going. At some point, like you get to that diamond. And so I'm a person where it's like I'm just gonna keep beating the door down. When you think of a hammer, like right,
Keep chipping,
you keep knocking the nail in, right? You just keep knocking, you keep knocking, you keep knocking. Like you're gonna get there. Like I'm just big on like consistency and like every single day. Like I mean, my 3 pillars are always, focus on getting better, develop and cultivate self-awareness, and control those controllables. And that's what a hammer does. Like every day that hammer is just hammering, right? Boom, boom, boom. The hammer knows, what can I do? I'm a heavy piece of metal, and if I freaking lay it down, like this freaking nail is gonna go into this wood or whatever. Eventually, right? If you keep chipping.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
At the same
Keep
time, you
knocking.
might hit your finger and experience some pain along the way, right?
Yeah.
If you're not
That's about as
good
accurate
with a hammer like myself, right? So,
That's about as accurate as it gets.
well, I mean, you think about the philanthropy work he does, right? And then the exercise and the diet, the self-discipline he has with his diet. So I think of Chris as a hammer.
I do too, but on the self-discipline with his diet, he'll
I-
veer a little
I
bit.
think we
here.
all do. I had a cupcake before coming up here.
I had a very dark weekend snack-wise. I'm not going to lie to you. We went to Florida for a couple of days, slow pitch softball, really important stuff.
Did you win the tournament?
No, we did not. It rained the whole time. The positive was good people, stuff like that. But I got to come home and coach at Michigan this weekend, both boys.
It's a big house.
So that was an interesting event. But for me, when I think of hammers at this place or even outside of this building, I think of servant leaders. And they always say you don't have to be great to serve, but you have to serve to be great. And I think that's as true of a statement as I can think of. I try to lead with love. I know you guys are the same way. It's not always easy, but if you let your people know that you love them, you can pour back into them. You can have tough conversations, honest conversations, and not take it personal. And you and I have talked about it quite a bit from the book, The 4 Agreements, which is one of my all-time favorites. And that's one I do struggle with from time to time because I think people take a lot of pride in the work that they put out and things like that. So every once in a while, no matter how much you armor up, one of those little arrows is going to get you in the ribs, and you just got to be really careful to not let that affect you. So a hammer to me is someone that's just constantly there to serve, to give back, to make people realize that they're greater than they ever thought they could be. And it's a slippery slope, though, sometimes, because when you pour so much into people, they don't make a lot of deposits back into you. When we talk about servant leadership and some of the stuff that you do, not only as a man of faith and a man of Christ, but in your program, what are some of the things that you guys do in your program to serve and even in your personal life with your family?
Yeah, well, I think servant leadership is why we're in education, right? It's a ministry in itself. So I think, our coaching staff gives them themselves incredibly, away from the family, away from the business, away from the jobs, the extra workouts, the mentorship. So we do a remarkable job in our program. We do a lot of team building exercise, and I've been able to partner up with the Boudreaux brothers and Ben and RJ. RJ's now the head coach at Grand Valley, does a remarkable job. But I was surprised at our original team event, our team weekend retreat, how many of these guys lack self-confidence. Like if I would have turned back the clock 10 years ago, probably maybe 15 years ago, and did the same exercise, I don't think we would have had those same challenges. Our guys here in this building somewhat struggle with self-belief and self-confidence. And I think a lot of that has to do with the social media era we live in. They're always comparing themselves to others. There's rankings that are everywhere. There's people judging them for who they are and their results. So I think that's a bit of a challenge. So we have to get them to focus on what's really important, right? And that's progress, that's development, that's making sure that we develop great habits, that's making sure we're humble, things that they're gonna be able to carry with them later in life. That when they look back on, they'll say, "Hey, that's why I was successful." So those are the things we focus on rather than being successful and winning a championship. We never talk about raising a banner, and I will never talk to our teams about raising a banner. Do they have a goal of winning a state championship? Sure. But we don't talk about it. We talk about getting the best out of our guys each and every day, each and every week, each and every month, and then see where we're at the end of the year. And hopefully we can progress through that process. But this past weekend, we were able to spend some time with the Miracle League of Michigan.
Love it.
Special needs organization here in the state of Michigan. Obviously, we're all very familiar with it. So to see 20 to 30 of our guys working with special needs students, student athletes playing the game of baseball, and just how involved they got, I mean, it was remarkable. It was touching. It's a tearful moment. So I think when you can give them examples of how to be a servant leader for others, I think that's what our job is called to do as educators. Put them in those positions so that they can replicate those feelings later in life.
Yeah, we always talk about, I think one of the parables or things we always say is, Jesus washed feet. Whose feet are you washing? Mm-hmm. And one of the things I can testify to is I always see you washing someone's feet. Like, in terms of the story, whether it's cleaning the tables in the cafeteria, whether it's washing down mats after the game, or even at Teague's game. I mean, it was like to see the level of energy you had when it was halftime and you smuggled up his Gatorades and his refreshments and hopped down the bleachers like you were like 14 and ran down the snacks.
Psycho dad.
Snack dad.
So, what fuels you or what helps you or to be such an amazing servant leader day in and day? Because with you, it's so organic, and that's truly one of the things that I really genuinely kind of learned from you guys is I have always seen you just looking for whether it's picking up trash and just really being very just humble and such a servant, and what guides you or leads you or just makes you just so like second nature for you. Because I'm always seeing it. Even when we did the field day, I mean, me, you, and Coach Lewis. I mean, I came out there just to see if everything was out there, and you were literally setting up field day, and I naturally was like, okay, I guess we're setting up field day. I thought this was a student activity, and we literally, it's me, him, Marmol, and we're physically setting up field day, and I'm like, but I'm seeing that from you in every aspect, every single day. What guides that, or what? Well,
certainly,
that?
I'm not amazing at it, but when you work in an environment like this, you guys around me and everyone here, from Sean Sova behind the screens today.
Shout out to Sean Sova.
Yeah, obviously one of my former wrestlers, right?
That's right.
It's got to be authentic, and I think it can be learned. I don't think I was really good at that early in my career, right? And I'll be honest, I think I was very selfish with my time. But when you have children, I think you start to learn more about that love. That unconditional love that Jesus has for us. I didn't know what that was until I had children, right? And then started to see them grow and experience, and going through Catholic schools, starting to learn who Jesus Christ was. And you think about the route he took when being crucified by the cross. It's the least I can do for others, right? So it wasn't something I was born with. It was something I learned along the way. And I had great servant leaders in my life. But you guys emulate the same characteristics, right? And so do our teachers. I mean, I see so many of our teachers give back after school, whether it be moderating clubs, selflessly of their time. Someone's got to moderate the Lego club. Someone's got to moderate the bass fishing club. Someone's got to moderate the outdoor packing club, backpacking club. It's like they give so much. It's the least I can do. And I think when you're a part of that community, we're all called to do that in some shape or form. I mean, look at our media team. They're at every single event we cover, and they never say boo. They never complain. Aaron Miller came up to me today setting up for our GDK day. He said, how can I help? I mean, it's the environment, it's the culture, it's the Shamrock way in my mind.
The question I have for you, Mr. B, so the Bible speaks about being a cheerful giver. So with all the serving that we all do, just kind of just being in here, you guys talk about your kids, and then we talk about our philanthropic efforts outside here. How do you balance and maintain being being a cheerful giver when you're always serving? Do you let's have a real conversation. How do you balance it where it's all right, I've changed 20 diapers this week. I've cleaned 30 tables. I've
He's
taken
past
out.
the diaper changing phase. I hope.
Yeah, now that I'm 50, I might be closer to it for myself than my own kids. But
So how do both of you guys? How do you balance like, all right, like do you ever get tired of like whew, I've been serving for like 25 hours today. Like, how do you guys balance that? Are you always able to maintain being cheerful with it, or are there some days where it's like I'm kind of tired, I need a little something for myself? How do you balance that?
I don't know if there really is. To be great at anything or to be good at anything, I don't know if there really is true balance. You have to, and everybody has a different version of what balance is to them. For me, it's just a conscious decision. When I wake up in the morning, I'm so happy that I open my eyes for another chance to start over and just dominate that day. As soon as I put my feet on the ground, I speak it into existence. And I tell myself, I'm going to have a great day. I'm going to be a coffee bean. I don't know if I've ever told anybody this story. I read a book called Rhinoceros Success one time. I've never told this story.
What's the age group?
The rhino, there's a lot of pictures in it. I read normal books too. This one had some pictures. But it said that every morning you picture yourself in the shower like a 5,000-pound rhino, turn that cold water on and picture yourself just shaking that water off, getting ready to charge through the day. And every single day I picture myself being that 5,000, 6,000-pound rhino and just making sure I come in here and shake whatever water off I had on me coming in and just hit the ground for our people. And for me, that's my bucket filler, to see our kids happy, to see you guys happy, to see coaches happy, just to know people are happy in general. That's what gives me balance. On top of my own family, I didn't have the family priority before I got married, and I definitely didn't have it before I had kids. I was very selfish also with my time, and I poured all my time into this place, as much of it as I could, probably too much. And I think my balance now is understanding that for me, it's my wife and kids are at the top of the pyramid. Before it was Catholic Central really over everything, and sometimes even over myself. But once I got married and had my two beautiful boys, I realized I have to train my boys how to survive when I'm not here anymore. And that's tough. And I've said that to them.
That's scary.
I said, boys, I know daddy's tough on you sometimes, but we talk about leading with love, but my job is to make sure you guys can survive when I'm not here. And there's going to come a point when mommy and daddy aren't here anymore and you guys just have you too. So it's putting my priorities in perspective. It's true though. I mean, I heard that somewhere and it just hit me, and to have that conversation with the boys and let them know, like, when we're gone, it's just you, Brooks, and you, Bo, with each other. You guys got to be best friends and look out for each other. So balance for me is just pouring everything I can into my kids and my wife, making sure they're good. Everything after that is a bonus. And having that positive mindset and that outlook is just a conscious choice in the morning. I got a lot of that speaking stuff into existence from you and writing stuff down and maybe trying to send what I try to do now is send 3 positive text messages, not driving, but
yeah, I get what you're saying.
Before I start my school day, I try to send out just 3, and people that may not have heard from me in like 2-3 years, I'll just hit them up and say, hey, I was thinking about you. I hope you're doing great. I love you. So that for me, my own balance is pouring back into people, giving much of myself as I can, but that starts at home with my wife and my kids. They have to be at the top of the food chain for me, and that's where they give me my balance, because I know when I come home, my bucket's going to overflow with love for my family, and that's what my balance is. And I love my people here like my own family and our people. So
yeah, so I mean, so Coach Hancock, I think you were telling me at the game one day, it was one day you had to wake up, you had to drive someone to Toledo, and then Tiger had lost his game pants. You had to find him some game pants. But then you also had a homecoming. You had to get someone's hair done. You had to get your hair cut, get him back. Then you had to go to a football game. Like,
don't even start.
I'm staying quiet.
Mind going. So the little that I have. Thanks, Chris. Hair coming up.
So seriously, so in moments like that where like you've done nothing for yourself yet in that day, how do you maintain the cheerfulness, the happiness of just giving and serving, where it's not even 3 p.m. and you've ran 15 errands? Like, what fuels you, brother?
It's a mindset. I tell my wife all the time. Fatigue isn't real. It's not real. It's a mindset, right? What did Tom Mack's famous line?
Yeah.
Right? What the mind can conceive, the body can achieve.
Yeah.
You got to fool your mind in the mornings. There's times I wake up and and you're struggling getting out of bed. You want to hit snooze on the alarm clock, and it's like, let's go.
There's times you got to fool yourself before practice, I'm sure, after a grueling day in the Dean of Students office. And I know there's a lot of positivity in there, but you got to deal with some tough situations. I mean, we've been through days where we've had multiple interviews dealing with something, and then you have to go to practice. So do you have to flip your mindset and kind of fool yourself for that too?
No, I enjoy it, right? I mean, I enjoy I enjoyed being a Dean of Students. I had to deal with a lot of messes, right? But ultimately, I was one of those students. And I tell guys all the time, I was a rascal. Every line I pushed and anything they think of doing, I probably already did, right? So Father Huber saw something into me and gave me an opportunity, and so did Mr. Lewis, to sort of change that narrative and be able to give back to our students. But, getting back to the fatigue part of it and the authenticity of, it's how you wake up every morning. Are you waking up, in a with a negative attitude, approaching the day with fear and anxiety? I choose not to do that every morning, much like you guys, right? You wake up, you go through your morning routine, whether it's scripture, affirmations, and so on. I mean, I listen to Family Life Radio on the way to school with my daughter, and Rural Essman sitting in the back of the truck, right? It's either that or John Jansen on 97.1, right? So sometimes I get sick of hearing about...
Shout out CC Dad, John Jansen, Big Jack's a freshman.
We all make choices in the morning. I choose to wake up and have a positive outlook on the day, and then I pray. Right? I pray and ask for guidance and ask for him to bless my tongue, my words, my actions, and my thought patterns throughout the day so that I can impact someone in a positive way. And, I wasn't always like that. And again, I go back to selfish behaviors when I was young, getting rid of those selfish behaviors because God has a calling for me, and that's to serve him like Jesus served us. I mean, but you have a choice every morning you wake up. And I firmly believe that waking up and developing myself, or starting the day with prayer and scripture and affirmations and goal setting, sets the tone for the rest of the day.
It is all mindset. And Chris, you have written 2 books on extreme gratitude. I mean, for you, when you talk about you waking up in the morning, and granted, we talk about, having wives and kids and things like that. And we talked, we joked through a text message group about, since you are single, maybe carrying on the legacy of the bazillion fathers. But
absolutely. Yeah.
You'd be the biggest priest in history.
Father O'Neill?
You're bigger than Father O'Neill. God rest his soul. He was a big dude, but I feel like you got him by about 20 pounds.
What about the one father we just talked about during Benini? He was a big guy. He was a hammer.
Wardy?
Yeah.
He was pretty big, but Chris.
Were you here at CC with Father Ward?
No.
Oh, he's a big hammer.
Yeah,
he was a
Father Ward. Was the man.
I don't know if I'll be the biggest one.
Weight wise, I feel like you are, and I mean that with all the respect in the world too.
He had a large presence, so I had him for math. Awesome math teacher. But I'll tell you what, you talk about. He was we call him a hammer, right? He was as patient as ever with us dumb jocks. I was considered a dumb jock. I took Alg 1, right? I was a dumb jock, and he.
Did they have chemistry in the community when you were here?
Oh, I had Mrs. Krieger for chemistry.
Oh yeah, you had ChemCom basically. They just changed the title.
Yeah, and
Clearinghouse.
Yeah, there you go.
Allegedly,
yeah, I had to get through the NCAA
Allegedly.
Clearinghouse. So Mrs. Krieger was my teacher.
Me too.
I struggled with chemistry. So, but yeah, getting back to Father Wardy, I think you're maybe same height, but.
Okay.
Father Ward would come in the weight room in his bazillion gear, white T-shirt, chalk all over his pants. The standard bazillion. He's not like Father Fulton. He'll come in with Uggs every once in a while, some nice shoes. Father Ward had these standard black on black on black Velcro New Balance. Come in the weight room trying to teach deadlifting out of a book. So you've got, like I said,
he put the collar in his pocket.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love
out of a book. So that's the type of person he was. So even though you're not a bazillion priest, you're very bazillion like, as are the two of us. One thing I've noticed about you, Mitch, and getting to know you as well as I have, and you as a younger Coach Hancock, I've seen your faith get stronger over the years. What do you attest that to?
Being here at Catholic Central, right? Getting to know the bazillion fathers and having as close to a relationship with them, because I know they are lived, right? Obviously, this life of spirituality and have chosen this route to be closer to God than me, right? So by developing relationships with them, I think they've really poured into me and made me curious about Jesus and made me more curious about my relationship with God. So I think that's had a big, big motivation in my life. And then my children, right? When my children were coming home and studying and going through scripture and had the religion assignments, and I was able to sit down and help them, it made me want to dig deeper into who Jesus was. And then, being around you guys, obviously, like I've said in the past, when we're to profess our belief for Jesus, and if we have to do that with our students, we have to be a firm believer in ourselves. So how much time are we investing in the Bible? How much time are we investing in our relationship with God and following the teachings of Jesus Christ? So Catholic Central has been that for me. And my parish, St. Mary in Royal Oak, Father Paul Snyder does a remarkable job, and being able to celebrate Mass with my children there, watching them go through parish activities. But it's a lifestyle, right? It's not a choice. It's what I choose to do as a lifestyle.
You told me one time, I was talking to you about my boys being in public grade school and how we were just struggling a little bit with there being a lack of faith in the building, whether it be through discipline or just kids who pray in general, because we pray, go to mass, things like that. I remember you told me a story one time we were talking about that when you put the kids into Catholic school. You said they would challenge you on certain things with your faith. Talk about, hey, what mass are we going to? Or, hey, what did this mean in terms of scripture and things like that? So I always love that. When you told me that story, that really touched my heart, because I try to do the same thing with the boys. And when we pray and when we're intentional and we talk about the Bible and some of the lessons that you can learn in that servant leadership. So I really appreciate it when you say that. I want to shift gears a little bit, and hopefully this doesn't get you in trouble with Anthony Biondo, but I know you're a big shoe guy.
I like my shoes.
Well, we're going to get into it and talk about your go-to pair of shoes when you coach, and don't lie.
Oh, that's tough. If it's not my brown dress shoes, right? Sort of coaches are getting away from the suit look.
You know what I want to hear.
Shirts.
Let's just hear it, because I know what you're going to say, and I'm setting you up for it.
I like the Nikes, right? The Jordans are nice, but I think I have to go to the Adidas, right? What are they? The
Ultra Boost?
The Ultra Boost. I don't think anything surpasses a good pair of Ultra Boost.
Smart move there. Good.
Here's an example. I had a buddy, Mike Fogut, donated a pair of shoes to me. Little did I know, I wore them for an assembly match one year, and they were the most uncomfortable shoes I've ever worn. And I got done with the assembly match, and one of the students came up to me and said, "Mr. Hancock, do you know what you're wearing?" And it's got the weird face on the back.
The Travis Scott dunks.
Yeah, Travis Scott dunks. I
They're
had no idea.
Travis Scott dunks.
You probably should have kept them in the box.
Well, I can tell you where
Nice
they went
little
after that. They
ROI.
went right back in the box because they were the most uncomfortable shoes I've ever worn, and I didn't want to wear them again. So I think they're at home somewhere, maybe under a bed in a shoebox. So yeah, I never wore those again. I've always gone back to my Adidas, just a little bit more comfortable, and the fact that obviously we're sponsored by them. So shout out to Adidas.
Coach Biondo, another free pair of tennis shoes for Coach Hancock at the start of the season.
I am in need of one, right? New pair. So
we'll come up with something special.
I don't have as many as you do. I mean, you have a different color for each day of the week.
Right? I try to
tear it out.
That's my cross to bear, is my shoe collection. Unfortunately,
who else has got a pretty cool collection on campus?
There's quite a few people that got quite a few shoes here. There's one of them right there.
Not really. Big shoe collector?
No.
I'd like to see you. I'd like to see your collection. You have 20 different pair of Canes and Crocs at home.
I think
you are a Croc lover.
I do love a good. I mean, I've had so many feet injuries. Like I love.
He's a
have,
comfort.
He's myofascial release, like on the bottom. Got like 2 broken toes and like plantar fasciitis.
I can't wait till you get old. I can't wait till your body starts to fall apart.
Huh? Take the socks off.
Yeah. I thought I've trained barefoot probably for like 6-7 years.
Just never in the wrestling room, right?
I used to. There's probably some old footage of me warming up in there a little bit.
Without socks on?
No. I had socks on. Allegedly.
Allegedly. We'll check the video cameras. Don't make us do that. I've seen you toil around a little bit in the wrestling room. I think you and Kevon were in there one time.
Oh yeah, we'll have to upload that video.
I saw that clip.
Yeah,
it was not as interesting as your lacrosse shot, which I wish I had a clip of, but we'll just leave that for a different
So
day.
One of the things I'm very, very passionate about explaining to our young men as they are here and when they graduate is the importance of taking lessons learned on your sport of play and transitioning them into life. I remember being a young, out of shape freshman, and a quote that you would say that I will always be cemented in my brain, Coach Hancock. First time I heard it, and it really just changed how I viewed the world, was you'd always tell me was, a technical wrestler is never as technical when he's tired. A strong wrestler, he's never as strong when he's tired. A smart wrestler, he's never as smart. I'm not a smart wrestler. A strong wrestler, he's not as strong when he's tired.
Smart. Yeah,
okay,
technical.
smart. Yeah,
That's smart.
But you finish with, so the goal is to never get tired. Can you kind of explain how that resonates with just everyday life of being a man who's trying to just be a father, be a teacher, be a brother? Explain how that transfers over into life, especially when you said earlier that fatigue's a choice. That quote, I'm be honest, it got me through so much of my professional career when there was just those dog days where I'm in the spring league and now I'm in indoor and like now I'm back in the NFL, like those moments where it's like, I don't feel like doing this anymore. And I would always hear you in the back of my mind go, don't get tired. Explain how that resonates with just life as a man every day now.
Yeah, that's an old Jay Robinson quote. And those that don't know Jay was a uberly successful coach at the University of Minnesota. He was a former, I think, Marine, maybe did special forces of some kind. But he had this quote, like you said, take a strong wrestler, get him tired, he's not as strong. Take a quick wrestler, get him tired, they're not as quick. Take a technical wrestler, get him tired, they're not as technical. It's those that learn how to perform when they're tired that find success. That's the direct quote that we've used in our wrestling room, and I would always refer back to that quote, like you said. But yeah, you're gonna get tired. You're gonna become fatigued. You're gonna go through the grind, right? But you have to learn how to be authentic and learn how to perform when going through those challenges and grinds. My wife says to me all the time, "I'm tired." Right? Now, I shouldn't say all the time because she's a hammer. I mean, she was up at 5 a.m. this morning on the Peloton. I got to tell you, absolute hammer.
Best athlete in the family
by far. Well,
for now.
Yeah. But she one day or a day a week, I'm tired, right? I'm like, you're not tired. It's a mindset. She just barks at me. Not everything is a mindset. Yeah, everything is a mind, right? The body is controlled by the mind. Tell yourself you're not tired and you'll be fine, right? So, Chris, going back to your question, it's just part of my life. It's part of who I am. I've been born and raised by two parents who worked hard. You talk about Detroit grit, man. My mom is as gritty as they can be, and my dad, was gritty as well. I was a blue collar kid, born and raised in Royal Oak, Michigan. Didn't have a whole lot, right? Three siblings, 4 kids, and my parents found a way to provide for us, right? And found a way to give me an opportunity to come to this school. And grow under the Bazillions and Coach Rod and so on. So, I mean, our guys are resilient, and I think, through episodes like this, they can hear more about those things. But you're gonna eventually fatigue will catch up. It catches up with all of us, and that's why I think it's important to work hard in cycles. Talk about a training cycle. Can't run a thoroughbred as fast as you can. For so many races in a row. You have to learn how to taper. You have to learn how to pull back and enjoy moments. And whether that be vacation, whether that be treating yourself on a Sunday afternoon to a double cheeseburger or whatever your diet, whatever your goals or whatever you're working through, you have to work through things in cycles. You cannot run 100 miles an hour 100% of the time or you're going to burn out, So I think keeping that in perspective and making it fun for our wrestlers, but also finding time for me as a person. I recently, I get opportunities from friends and so on, going on vacations with family, right? I never had that growing up. So taking that time to pour back into them to where you can reset, the end of July, going down to North Carolina, family vacation, we do that annually. So those are your sort of reset buttons that allow you to come back into school and go full force ahead.
I've noticed it doesn't take a lot. You give me 2 days away where I can unplug. I saw something that was really good. I can't remember who said it, but they were talking about Sunday being the Sabbath and how Jesus rested on that Sunday. And I can't remember who it was, but they said they would take their cell phone, put it in a drawer, and lock it in there for the full Sunday. Stay away from their phone, just be present with their families, with their kids. And I've tried to do a little bit more of that. So, and it doesn't take that much. It really doesn't. 1 or 2 days away or even a few hours away can help recharge your batteries. But a big part of it is that mindset. I think the kids here feed off of that from you. I think they see what you do. We talked about culture today in our GDK group, and I always talk about hearing it, seeing it, and feeling it. And when I think about leaders in this school, I'm sitting here with 2 guys to where I hear it from them. I see you guys model it on a daily basis. And when we talk, and I know I'm very lucky to give a speech to the wrestlers the night before the semifinal and state championship, but to hear the way that you speak to them is something that's a bucket filler for me. So it's just such a special thing to be around guys like you who breathe so much life into the culture. And I'm one of those guys that really tries to run 100 miles an hour all the time. And I tried to do that for years. And recently, finally, I'm realizing for me, my number one priority is my wife and kids. That's it. Catholic Central is a huge priority for me and our people here, but my number one priority is my wife and kids, and that's the difference.
Yeah, and you got to teach yourself not to feel guilty, because when we do take these trips or these small getaways, you feel guilty because you're
you still feel it. You feel it a little bit still,
right? It's like I got to get back to work, and give back and do my job and X's and O's and so on. And you coaching, right? You're back into coaching. Does your audience know?
I mean,
You talked about this?
I've
You gotta
touched on
see it. You
I've
gotta
touched on
see
the
it.
I've touched on the Walled Lake Braves
It's
a
gonna
little
be
bit.
a huge outlet for you.
It's the best. It honestly, I thought that being here and then getting home was the best part of my day, but getting around those kids, I can't tell you how fulfilling it is. It made me miss it so much more and realize that one of my true strengths is as a coach, but as an AD, I get to coach our coaches and coach kids in every sport and kids that aren't student athletes. So it's a blast.
I'm gonna be honest. I think it's what's helped me grow this past year. I think seeing you guys as like fathers has been like my biggest bucket filler this past 365. Seeing you coaching the Walled Lake Braves and then seeing your interactions, whether it's trying to watch a live stream of one of Teague's matches or seeing you at the game, has been some of the most like life-changing events because it's a side of you guys that like it's just very just like honestly just like raw and just like organic and uncontrolled and there's no polish, there's no script, and just seeing like that like just joy. Not that you guys don't look joyful doing your jobs, obviously, but it's just different when seeing you guys with your kids because it's like you guys are just like in like a whole totally different bag. Totally different bag.
My mom would always say you'll never know what unconditional love is like until you have children of your own, and she was 1,000%.
Like you had to see the way he took off with the snack bag. It was like he was so happy. Like he was so happy. And then see,
you're making me sound like a overbearing dad. I had to help him, man.
No, it was
snack
amazing.
Listen, snack dads are crucial to the survival of youth football programs.
Or seeing him like I went to one of their scrimmages and like he's like fist pumping the other team like good hustle way to get to the ball. He's like walking over their sideline. He's like, it was almost like Tim Burke on steroids. Like he's fist pumping everyone.
It did help that Carol Jung's grandson was on the other team. So
okay.
His little chubby face walked up and shouldered me in the back, and I was like, "What are you doing, Cole?"
Recognize you right away, right?
But you do this. I see you do the same thing with kids from other schools, and you help them. And the amount of kids from other schools you welcome into our wrestling room to get better. And sometimes it's kids our kids are going to end up seeing, but.
Yeah, open room for 20 years, never charge a dime, right?
Yep.
You're any local school from around the state of Michigan, you want to come work out and get better, you've always been welcomed in our room. And that's something, that I'll take with me, obviously, for the remainder of my career here. We just don't charge kids to come in and work out, right? And we have camps, of course, but outside of the camps, I mean, we run open rooms 3 times a week. We have kids from West Bloomfield, Plymouth Canton, all the different school districts that will come in and work out with our guys, and you don't charge them, and then you see them at the tournaments, you interact with them and see how they're doing and show them some love. But, I mean, our goal is to help young men develop, right?
That's it.
So
it's that simple. That's it. I think that the 2 biggest surprises I've seen come back in the room that were 2 rivals of ours are guys like an Alec Pantelio.
Yeah.
Who wrestled at Canton, was a beast there for us. I know one of our guys got him for a state title his senior year, but to see
the greatest
celebration
history,
ever.
Yeah.
He ran a full lap around the mat.
The
It
old
was
palace.
awesome.
Our brother right there, man.
I also remember how excited Miles was too that he won that match. But to see Alec come back and coach our kids and help in the program, and even a kid like Anthony Abro, who hasn't been around for a little bit of a while, but he was a tough character for us as well over at Canton. And when he went to Eastern Michigan, then I think when these guys get in our room from other schools, they realize it's way different than they thought it was.
I think sometimes they're growing up in environments where they're taught to hate Catholic Central, like, whether it be from coaches, parents, or athletic directors, there's a really negative outlook towards what we do here. But when you look at the ground and the formation of it, it's developed through hard work, right? How many of these coaches are traveling to Fargo, North Dakota in July to be with their group? How many of these guys are going down to Super 32s this weekend to coach their guys? How many guys are going to Vegas for the UWWs? I mean, it's not a season to us. It's a lifestyle, right? So I think these coaches sometimes, and I don't want to use the word jealousy. I got to be very careful in using it, but I just said it. So we do have incredible resources. We have a large coaching staff. We have incredible athletes that want to be a part of something great, and it's on us, right? I use the phrase, it's on us. It's on us to develop these guys. It's on us to help them accomplish their goals. It's on us to lead the path for them. So when these guys graduate, like an Alec, and goes off to University of Michigan, he's coming back into our room, pouring into our guys, and then he looks at you and says, yeah, for years he had this rivalry with us and was taught to hate CC. And then he comes in and sees the way we operate and how warm and welcoming we are, and just that, like any martial art, we want to help people get better. It sort of blows his mind, and he's been a great resource, as so many other athletes have from around the state as well. I mean, the Massa, right? Taylor and Logan Massas have been in our room. I mean, I can go on for minutes on who's come back. And we had some heated rivalries with St. John's when they were great, right? For him to come back into our room and continue to give back. So I think a lot of that has to do with maturity, right? When those guys are in high school, right, they're not very mature in their thought process on some of the steps that we're taking to develop our young men. I think they're taught sort of not to like CC. And a lot of it has to do with we're successful, right? I recognize that, but we certainly didn't fall at the top of the mountain. I mean, we've climbed, clawed, and inched our way to the top through training. So
Earned.
There's no, and I can tell you this, when Coach Hancock mentioned earlier in the podcast that he doesn't talk about state championships in that room, I'm not a big fan of cardio. When I do cardio, I'll go in the wrestling room and ride the Peloton in there, and I'd say 3/4 of the time we've got kids in there working out. And during the season, it's even better because the room is jam-packed. It's 1,000 degrees. The kids pray before practice, and then it is an all-out war in that room. Everybody challenging each other to get better, and then they pray after practice. And I can tell you, I don't hear the word state championship ever mentioned. Now, granted, we have everything hanging up in there to show what we've done and a lot of our fruits, but
Earned.
I will say this, and I constantly use it, and I stole this term, roots over fruit, but you constantly continue to focus on the roots in that program, which is why you're successful. You constantly continue to focus on your roots as the dean of students, why you've been highly successful in that job. I can't wait to see what that roots-based focus looks like with you as the principal of this school and as our leader, just as somebody who loves you, who's been able to watch you grow as a man, as a father, as a husband, as a mentor of mine, even though I'm considerably older than you and you have a little bit more hair than I do. But it's something, like I said, that's the most fulfilling thing to me here. And to see you get that opportunity, somebody I care so intently about, is really special. I'm excited for you. Give us one positive takeaway, one House of Hammers nugget for our listeners and our viewers to take away from the message from future CC principal, current dean of students, CC wrestling coach Mitch Hancock.
no longer dean of students. So I've had a smile on my face the entire years.
I have noticed your hair looks like it got a little thicker.
Really? Yeah, that's probably because
former dean of students. I'm sure. Well, I know this though. I know Matt has come to you and as a mentor for him as well in that position. So even though you're removed from that, I know you still assist in some of those areas.
Yeah, I guess my parting message is that I'm really excited. And Marcus Freeman, the head coach in Notre Dame, said, with great tradition comes great responsibility. And I recognize the responsibility on my hands to carry the torch for our school as the principal. But I also recognize that it's not about me. It's about the boys, right? It's about Jesus Christ and creating a path for them to grow closer with God, right? And also help them develop as young men here, and that it's okay to have a competitive mindset. I think sometimes within society, we're taught that we have to be softer. It's okay to work hard. It's okay to accomplish goals. It's okay to be successful. We just do that with a humble experience like the Bazillions are, right? The Bazillions are great role models for us because they never look for credit. They really don't. And they're always willing to serve others. So in my parting message, I just want people to know that I do take great responsibility in being the future principal here. I am somewhat nervous, but I'm solely going to rely on my team because I recognize this isn't Catholic Central was not founded by one person, right? Nor will Catholic Central ever be ran by one person. And the focus will remain solely on the students and how we continue to make Jesus Christ the reason why Catholic Central is here.
I love it. That's what this place is about. Chris, give me a good takeaway. I know you got a million of them. Don't act like you got to think of something. You're like me. You got 1,000 of them you can pull from your file cabinet.
The biggest thing I'm trying to say is embrace your mentors. You know, I think we live in a world where people may think that they know it all, or you may read this book or you listen to this podcast, but I think there should be a greater appreciation for the mentors that are in your life every single day that help you build. I think sometimes we overly value these like motivational speakers or these authors that we never meet. Have gratitude and appreciation from people that are pouring into you, that are around you. And I humbly say, man, I've known these men since I was 13 years old, and they have been constantly pouring into me. And that's why I often like to quote. If you hear me when I'm quoting things, I'm quoting him or I'm quoting him because I'm going to always quote someone that I know, right, who's poured into me like in my life, because that's just a token of appreciation. I want you guys to always know that the messages you gave me, they didn't go unheard. And I hope that as I continue to live life and grow, that you guys can see that, the seeds that you guys put into me and have watered over the years, hopefully that you guys have been able to see the growth in them. And I just appreciate you guys. And
Tear up. You gotta, man, oh man.
I appreciate you guys, and I
warm
appreciate
me
Father
about this.
Huber and Father Fulton, and just like I said, man, the Brazilian motto of just the building and cultivating and the foundational building blocks of young men is something that will forever be very important to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up another episode of the House of Hammers. On behalf of my guests, Coach Mitch Hancock and Mr. Chris Okoye, I want to leave you with one challenge. Wake up in the morning, plant your feet, give grace to God, and get ready to dominate the day. Speak positivity into existence and continue to lead with love. And when all else fails, keep hammering. We'll see you next time.